Hello there, Africa, and welcome to another exciting episode of the AfCFTA podcast. We appreciate you patronizing, watching the AfCFTA podcast, and also sharing with your parties across the world. We appreciate the comments that you've been sending to us, and I assure you that we're going to get all the responses to you as far as the vision to integrate the continent of Africa's economy is concerned. We also appreciate you liking. A lot of you have been liking the podcast, and we appreciate that. A lot of you haven't missed any episode at all from the beginning since we began up until now. And I must say that this is the second season, the first episode of the second season of the AfCFTA podcast. The first season, we had the journey being told. We talked about the negotiation stages. We talked about a lot of the things that happened along the line before we are here. We are here at the implementation stage of the AfCFTA, according to all the stories that we have heard so far. Now, in this season, which is season 2, beginning with this episode, we are going to get into the meat of the agreement and the sort of work that the AfCFTA Secretariat has been doing to ensure that there is movement of goods and services across the borders of the continent of Africa, facilitating the AfCFTA. That's where we've got into. We want to listen to the men and women who have been charged with the responsibility at the AfCFTA Secretariat to ensure that the instruments, the protocols, and all of the things that allow us to trade across the continent of Africa are put in place. Today, we are privileged. We are starting off with the Directorate of Trade in Goods. I had wanted to say that the vehicle on which the AfCFTA and the movement of goods is driving, or the highway on which the AfCFTA will be moving. The Directorate of Trade in Goods has a lot that they have done so far, and there's a lot that they continue to do and will be doing to ensure that we're able to move goods across countries on the continent of Africa, particularly party states of the AfCFTA. Now, the director in charge of the trade in goods at the AfCFTA Secretariat is Director Mohamad Ali. Director, it's a pleasure to have you in the studio.
It's always a pleasure, sir.
And sometimes when I see you, I feel very guilty, Director. I have to admit and say that today right in front of you. I meet you quite often, sometimes in programs, sometimes at the AfCFTA Secretariat. And as soon as I see you, I feel very guilty. I don't know if you know why. You don't know why? Good. And that is because of the admiration that I have for you regarding how you wear and put on your kaftan, the African wear. Very beautifully tailored kaftan, and you love them.
Yeah, I love them so much. For me, it is not only about me loving them, they are practical for me. It is considered as the official dress code for Africans, and we are here in the AfCFTA, so I'm so proud of wearing them, especially because I usually get them from African tailor and African designers.
Good.
So
good. And that's also patronizing what comes from the continent and the talent that's coming from the continent. Let me just give this caveat to viewers, though, that they are going to get the opportunity to see you in double kaftans, very beautiful double kaftans, because the directorate, as I mentioned earlier, it has a lot going, and we are going to break this interview. We're going to have double of this interview in 2 different days, but we're bringing all of them together for you. So you are likely to see director in double kaftans, and that's the admiration that I have for him. Anytime you see him, most of the times he's in those beautiful kaftans, and we admire you for that. But talk to us about the role of the trading goods in the whole AfCFTA setting. If the AfCFTA is considered to be the continent's vision and dream to have an integrated economy, what role is trading goods? How central is trading goods in this whole vision?
Well, you can start maybe speaking about that by understanding that the protocol in trading goods under the agreement is the first protocol.
Okay.
It was the first protocol or the main protocol to be negotiated in phase one. So in phase one, we had the main agreement, and then we had a protocol on trading goods as protocol number one. And after that, we have a protocol on trading service and protocol on dispute settlement mechanism. So that's what we started with as a phase one in March 2018, when the agreement had been signed by our heads of state and government. And the philosophy of that, the AfCFTA is all about creating a single market.
Yeah.
And the key thing for you to create a single market to begin with is the market access, the creation of market access opportunity. And for that comes trading goods, because there is no trade agreement with with no market access. You need to create a market access, and after that you can start plugging additional features to a trade agreement or to an economic arrangement that handle issues around what I can say, maybe services, investment, digital trade, which we have done, IB protection, competition policies, all of that we have done. But we had to create the market to begin with by enabling trading goods. And the critical thing for the trading goods protocol, it is not only about creating the market access, create the market access, set the rules of origin, and set the foundation for cooperation and harmonization of standards under the technical barrier to trade annex, set the framework for cooperation in SPS measures, which is sanitary and phytosanitary measures that manage or tackle the agriculture products and food products, plus a dedicated annex for tackling the non-tariff barriers, which allow the countries to have one platform and the economic operators to have one platform to record any non-tariff barriers that they may face and categorize what is the different barriers and what is the different steps of addressing them.
Okay. And if you want to give us a fair idea of what the trading goods entail, because you've already talked about the market access, and I'm sure that there are quite a number of other areas that it's important that we get to know. What are the compositions of trading goods?
The protocol in trading goods has 9 different annexes. As I mentioned, one annex on market access, one annex on rules of origin, annex on TBT, annex on SPS, annex on NTBs, annexes around customs.
So just for the benefit of our audience who are not technically inclined, when you say NTBs, you're talking about non-tariff barriers.
Non-tariff barriers, yes. Annex about custom cooperation, annex on transit, and annex on what we call trade remedies. Remedies, for maybe to make it more simplified, it is a system that is designed to fight unfair practices in trade. Unfair practices that may include, for example, dumping of the products, selling the products in much lower prices to make sure that all the competitors, they are out of the market before you start dumping or before you start establish a dominating position in the market. So that is a protocol in trading goods.
Good. So all of these things have been led by the Secretariat?
No, it was neither negotiated by the Secretariat or led by the Secretariat. This AfCFTA agreement is a member state-driven agreement. Member states are the owners of the agreement, owners of the Secretariat. So we are not negotiating, we are not setting rules, we are not supranational organization. We are facilitator and a catalyst for agreement that has been agreed among 55 countries of the African Union. They as countries are represented by their heads of states, represented by their government, and ratified by their parliament, who represent the people of Africa. They agreed collectively to waive part of their sovereignty when they reduce the tariffs. And that's how they are creating that single market. The role of the Secretariat is to be the technical institutional memory for the agreement, provide technical support, act as a facilitator, as a catalyst to fast track the realization of the AfCFTA benefits. But back to your question, yes, all of that has been negotiated and concluded in the 21st of March 2018, which entered into force in May 2019, and since then the agreement entered into force for the protocol in trading goods.
Great. And give us a sense of how important are all these annexes. And let's start with market access. How important is this under annex under the AfCFTA for a business who is seeking, or an SME who is seeking to be able to move goods from one country, in, let's say Central Africa, to say Southern Africa? How important is market access?
The market access is the core. We can visualize the whole economic integration of the AfCFTA agreement or any trade agreement in the world as a car, where market access in all the agreements, including WTO, including AfCFTA, including trade agreement between the US and the EU, trade agreement between India and any other country, any trade agreement in the world. Market access is the core, the engine that bring everything together. So when you create a trade agreement, you need to make sure that it is that single market that you are creating, or that free trade area that you are creating, is more attractive.
Yeah.
For investors to invest in, for manufacturers to manufacture in, and for traders to trade within. And that, from trade policy point of view, because there is so many other aspects, but from trade policy point of view, the most important component is to get the market access right.
Good.
To make sure that the trade that is happening between country A and country B are being traded on a preferential basis by what we call the market access concessions or tariff concessions. What is a tariff concessions mean in a simple word? So let's speak about mobile phone, for example, or any other product. Once two countries submit the tariff concessions and exchange the tariff concessions, and they are implementing the market access of the AfCFTA, they create a condition where the same product, before the agreement, when you trade, let's say a phone with $1,000, you should expect to pay 30% of that product, for example, when you trade to another African country. Okay, so country A produce phone that costs $1,000 and want to trade with another country B, another African country, without the AfCFTA agreement, and that producer should expect, or is expected, to pay 30% tariff duty, which count for $300 in that example, or in that case. Once the market access of the AfCFTA in place, the same transaction will mean that the producer or the trader will send the product from country A to country B without paying the $300. Still, they will be expected to pay the cost of transport, the cost of maybe taxes, general taxes that is paid on all the products, whether it is imported or not, but they will benefit from not paying tariff duty, which is the 30%.
Okay, that's interesting and insightful. Now come to the rules of origin, because we hear it quite often, and for importers and exporters, when you talk about rules of origin, particularly at the continental stage under the AfCFTA, what does it entail?
Rules of origin is the economic identity of the goods. You can think about it as the economic passport of the goods. When you as a person travel to another country, on the border, they will ask you to show identification document, which is your passport. And based on the agreement or the arrangement that Ghana, for your case, for example, or Ghanaian citizen, based on the arrangement and the legal contractual relation between Ghana and the country of destination, they will apply the applicable rule. Either they will give you exemption of visa, or they will ask you to apply for a visa or what. Same thing, you can apply the same concept for the rules of origin. So any product that is being traded, let's say, for the sake of example, between Ghana and South Africa, you can send the product from Ghana to South Africa, and when it reaches there, without the certificate of origin of the AfCFTA, there will be no tariff reduction.
Okay.
But once you get this economic passport, which is the certificate of origin, and now the customs authority on the Southern African side, they will look to their system, they will see it is a AfCFTA certificate, and they will apply the tariff reduction that is maybe applied under the AfCFTA. So that is a certificate of origin, and that is the main concept. Now, for the rules of origin, also to make it maybe clear for everyone what we are doing when we negotiate or when we're discussing rules of origin. So the way rules of origin work, especially under the AfCFTA, that every product is represented by what we call HIS code, or has its own code. So for each product or for each sector or subsector, we have negotiated and agreed on a rule of origin. What we mean by that? You need to set a rule that defines what is considered to be African product under the AfCFTA, what is not considered to be African product on the AfCFTA, and why that is important. You want to give the market access preferential arrangement for a value addition that has been generated in Africa, or a product that has been manufactured in Africa and by Africans. Okay? So, in order for that to be maybe more concise, member states negotiated different rules. So, for example, for automotive or for the cars, we have agreement among the African countries that at least 40% of a car that is manufactured and traded under the AfCFTA regime should be African input. 40%. Because let's say you have investors that came to you and say, I will import everything from outside in the car, and I just want you to put the final touch or final finish that can, out of the final price of the car, can accumulate for only maybe 2% or 5% or even 10% of the car. So the question for you now, is it acceptable for you to say this is African product? For the negotiators and for the majority of the government, that is not acceptable.
Okay.
The bare minimum requirement for African product has not been met.
Okay.
So you need to make sure that there is 40% African inputs. Okay. And the importance of getting the right level right, because if you set it so low, same like for the example of the automotive, now you are exporting the benefits of the AfCFTA for everyone else but the Africans.
Okay.
Because now you are rewarding 90% of the car inputs and rewarding that product with tariff reduction. If you set it so tight and restrict by, let's say, for example, expecting 80% of the car to be African inputs, that means there it will be a condition where all the investors will find it very, very restrictive, and that will not attract foreign direct investment. It will not create new job opportunities, because it will make it so difficult for factories to meet this requirement.
Yeah.
So there is important to get the level of the rule of origin right, and that's why the process of negotiating the rules of origin line by line and product by product is have taken so much time, and it is very, very difficult, because what fit the automotive sector not necessarily fit the pharmaceutical sector, and not necessarily fitting the
Garment
textile
or
sector,
textile.
and definitely not fitting the agriculture sector. So that is the rules of origin as a gender.
But so do we have the rules for almost all the products, the significant products that are identified on the continent already negotiated?
We have currently we have rules for everything. We don't
Okay.
have anything outstanding. The only caveat for that we have AfCFTA rules for all the products.
Okay.
With exception of few lines in textile where we agreed that for now we will apply the RECs, the regional economic communities
okay,
rules. So if you are exporting to ECOWAS, you will apply the ECOWAS rule. If you are exporting to SADC, you will apply the SADC rule. Same thing for COMESA, which means for you as an economic operator, you have rule for every product that you are willing to export.
For an importer or exporter or economic operator who wants to have access to this, where can they access the rules of origin for the products that they intend to trade in?
It is the rules, they are contained in what we call Annex 2 of Rules of Origin, and can be accessed by just going to the AfCFTA website.
Okay.
However, we, together with our colleagues in the Customs Directorate, we created a very maybe advanced tool where if you as an economic operator, you just need to go there on the AfCFTA website and access the e-tariff book. And once you are there on the e-tariff book, you just write the name of the product and the country of origin and country of destination, and the system will show you the expected tariff reduction, which is market access, and the applicable rule of origin for that purpose. So it is very accessible digitally for everyone, and accessible also in the legal form, which is the annex itself.
Yeah. Before we come to the non-tariff barriers, I want to take you back to the trade remedies, because a lot of people who move goods across sometimes encounter difficulty. They face problems, and they want somebody to talk to. They want somewhere to resort to. What are the details of the trade remedies that trading goods deal with?
Well, for the benefit of the economic operators, I will maybe the only thing I would mention about trade remedies, because trade remedies is very technical matter. Okay, trade remedies usually is a matter that is being handled by investigation authorities in the countries. So in maybe a quick description of what remedy can do. Trade remedy is a tool or the annex under the protocol in goods that can fight dumping of the products, and they have given an example before about what dumping mean, or can assist the countries to impose what we call safeguard measures in a case of extreme shortage of a product in a country, or in a case of maybe there is an urgent need to protect a specific sector in the country from the imports against the whole world, not only the AfCFTA, and to fight subsidy. So if you are maybe as an economic operator here in Ghana and you are seeing a product that is coming under the AfCFTA regime, and you're sure that the government of another country X already subsidizing that product in a way that is making its price unfair for you, and there is unfair competition, you can resort to the trade remedy provisions. And the thing that I said at the beginning is a very technical maybe process that would require investigation.
Okay.
So that's why we are seeing in the continent not everyone or very few countries that have investigation authorities, and that's why we included the trade remedy to make sure that we are raising the capacities of the member states to do such investigations and learn from the good experiences that we have in the continent. For economic operators, what I can say for now, that is being mainly handled by the government. So if you want to invoke anything in that area, trade remedies, your first talking point would be your government.
All right. And quite often when you talk about trade and the movement of trade and transportation and economic activities, particularly the movement of goods, people assume to think that the challenges are mainly tariffs, or everything is all about tariffs. Is it all about tariffs?
Absolutely not. And that is the same case for all the trade arrangement, not necessarily only the AfCFTA. For you to move products from country A to country B, you need to worry about tariffs, you need to worry about transport costs, you need to worry about what other challenges that might face you on the border. You need to worry about access to finance your trade. You need to worry about maybe the requirements and the standards that you should meet when you export your product, because your product obviously is meeting the standard of the origin country. But what about your markets? What about your destination? Do they have harmonized standards with your country of origin? Yes or no? So all of that, it is a collective things that maybe face the exporter and importer. But as I said, tariff is the beginning. This is the core. You have market access, and you need to start tackle other things. You can the best example that I can give on the importance of tariff is the most recent ever-changing environment in the market access in the US market, whether under AGOA or whether with other countries, and you see everyone panicking. Why?
You mean the African Growth Opportunity Act?
Yes, and not only about the AGOA, it is also for other countries. You see how the EU is
the EPA agreement, for instance.
So once there is uncertainty about the market access to the US market in terms of tariffs, you see the investors and the governments and the private sector, they are in a panic mode. And that gives you an impression on how important is tariff. So to answer your question, is it only tariff? No. Tariff is a significant part of it. But it depends from country to country. It depends from region to region. In some cases, you can find between two countries where there is infrastructure or there is already maritime routes or there is easier access. Tariffs play a significant role in facilitating, and removal of tariff would play a very significant role in increase the level of trade between these two countries. But you can look to another case where there is a significant challenge on the number of maybe checkpoints, a significant challenge in the other NTBs requirement, standards, different language, different systems, and you start to see, even if you remove the tariff, there is need for more work to be done. To make sure that the level of trade is much higher.
What role do you think national implementation committees and national offices of the AfCFTA can play in getting some of these difficulties, non-tariff barriers, and all of that out of the way?
Well, it definitely is a significant role. And again, I want to make everything clear. The problems other than tariff that is facing the African trade and the low level of, and causing the low level of intra-Africa trade, mostly they are the same. Before the agreement and after the agreement, they still exist. And the agreement, what the agreement is trying to do is trying to change the narrative in part of it. So, for example, every time we look to the different reason for the low intra-Africa trade, you can find this is the same thing: the lack of infrastructure, the lack of access to finance, the lack of information, and market access, which is AfCFTA is tackling, and the NTBs, the administrative barriers, unregulated requirements, and all of that. So for the NTBs, the approach that the member states have taken is, let's at the beginning start by knowing where is the challenges,
Okay.
and let's speak to each other. So under the annex on the NTBs, the non-tariff barriers, we created a mechanism, okay, for economic operators to be able to, using their mobile phone or going to our website, to register. I am having a problem here on this border between country A and country B. Here is my document. Here is the requirement that has been, or the challenge that I'm facing, that I think it is NTB. And once that is done, the two countries who are involved in this trade will be notified together with the Secretariat. And once that is done, our team in the Secretariat start working closely with these governments to see how things can be changed. And most of the time, the two governments, we will find a positive, actions being taken by them. But if the problem on a policy level, that is already two different points of view on a policy level, now it will be country, government to government level engagement. If that policy is against the rules of the AfCFTA, we'll take it to what we refer to as part of phase one, which is the third protocol that has been adopted, which is a dispute settlement mechanism. So that is the whole journey for any economic operator that is facing problem on the board. Would that eliminate all the problems? Absolutely not.
No. Yeah.
Would that capture all the problems? I don't think so. But the more usage of the system and the more reporting of the system, we start to see bad trends.
Yeah.
We start to see where maybe where exactly is that problem.
Yeah.
Do we see more problems coming from West African region and Southern African region, Northern African region, and what type of problems that region has?
Yeah.
So maybe in one region you need to do more work on digital connectivity between customs authority. Maybe in another region you need to train the small traders.
And that intervention would have to come from who? AfCFTA or the national, the region or the nations?
It will be initiated from the AfCFTA Secretariat, because we have the helicopter view on what is happening.
Good.
And that should be in a form of technical report or something for the governments. But at the end of the day, and I will repeat, it is African state-owned process.
Yeah.
So they need to enforce it. They need to take action. But the good news is all the countries, they have the goodwill. They have the will to change things on the ground. And there was no single case that I can think about where a government maybe refused to cooperate, or they didn't take a serious step to solve the issues.
Yeah, in fact, that's what I was going to ask you, whether the nations, the party states and the NICs are indeed on the ground to support what the Secretariat is also doing.
Yeah, on the level of the agreement, the main agreement, there has been a commitment that the African countries made to create what we call the National Implementation Committees, where they are a committee with a cross-cutting responsibilities across all the ministries to make sure that the AfCFTA is being included and embedded in every single policy of the different ministries. It is included in the policy, obviously, of the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of Finance, but other ministries like communication, other ministries that is for investment, all of that. So with the creation of these NICs, that created for us a window for us to speak with the government from a single point. So if we have a problem with the number of the maybe security check on a road between two countries, instead of maybe us going to the different ministries in the country, whether it is custom or immigration or Ministry of Interior Affairs or whatever, we speak with only one point, and that one point will be our communication channel with all the ministries. And that also allow the different countries, when they speak to each other on that level, on the level of national committees, also they are speaking with understanding that whatever is being discussed, whatever is being shared, or the decisions that has been taken between on their bilateral level, that include all the different entities, and all the different entities, they are on board.
So you talk about the special economic zone regulations. You've talked about the rules of origin, the e-tariff book. The other one is the manual is
Rules of origin manual.
rules of origin manual. Are we able to tell the countries where most of these certificates of origins have been issued? You talked about over 5,000 of them.
Yeah, we can, while it is not a very useful exercise, but we can, from the negotiation, it was known, it was expected, and from the different economic reports, it was known that the countries that with strong industrial bases will be the early beneficiary of the agreement. And we have seen that.
It's manifesting.
The country that has issued the most certificate of origin is South Africa, followed by Egypt, followed by other countries that has maybe strong industrial basis. But I would also want to say, just to be fair, Ghana is doing very well when it comes to issuing certificates of origin. I will not mention specific numbers because these numbers keep changing. But what I say is the more important than the absolute numbers is what different steps that you have taken as a country to realize the potential of the AfCFTA. If you put in place a national body or national committee, have you started engaging with other African countries on government to government level, business to business level, a joint business councils? All of these activities contribute to the number of utilization of the AfCFTA, because it is the same system that is being used by South Africa, being the biggest country in the number of issuance of certificate of origin. It is the same system that is available, for example, for Ghana.
No, I was interested in that because, we hear quite a number, sometimes quite a number of skeptics who think that, the AfCFTA is not working because we are not seeing trade move across borders. Probably are not aware that all these things that you're talking about, these revelations are on the ground, that you have over 5,000 certificates of origin issued and countries have already begun utilizing, harnessing the potential. What would you say should be done to encourage member states in particular to whip up the interest and put all mechanisms in place to increase the issuance of certificate of origin and the participation in the AfCFTA?
Well, again, there's so many layers for this question. The first one about criticism or skepticism that sometimes happen, which for me, I would say it is something healthy. We need to be
welcome
all the time. We should be, as Africans, self-aware about. We need to do more. We need to move faster. We need to. It is very healthy thing to have. We are not maybe me myself. Most of the time I keep close eye on this kind of opinions. But the thing that I want to say is, if you look to the European Union, how many years it took them to be the European Union? Forget about other arrangement that is outside Africa. Even our very successful or very famous regional arrangements that we have, it took time. We're speaking about regime that started in the middle of COVID-19. And now, after 3 years of starting or the starting of trade, we started to see the numbers. Started to see reports from different economic, maybe think tanks and economic reports start to speak about increase of the level of intra-African trade. What is worrying me, or what is important for me, is are we moving forward, or we stand still, or we are going back? I think we are moving forward in terms of integration. Is it in the fast that everyone's satisfied with? We will never reach a situation. Currently, you will not find, maybe in the European Union, 100% or even 80% or 70% satisfaction of the integration. We will not reach to this situation, and we should. This should not be our goal. Our goal is: are we making progress? And I think the answer for that's significantly and 100% we are making progress. What needs to be done to encourage countries? I think the countries, they don't need more encouragement. On the level of the political leadership, they don't need encouragement. They are actually more maybe eager to realize this market more than us. But again, as I said again, what is the AfCFTA? The AfCFTA is the market. It is the collective responsibility of everyone. It is the government. It is the private sector. Because the private sector, you are the AfCFTA. You are the single market.
They trade.
So when think about it like that, you have two cities, and we are in the AfCFTA, not the AfCFTA Secretariat. We are in the AfCFTA. We paved a highway, very well-established highway, 2 ways, and paved and everything. Okay. So for you as an economic operator, okay, you need to drive your car and drive on this highway. And there is other players that need to come along and put a gas station, put a service center, I don't know, hospital, whatever, in both sides of this highway to be efficient for the economic operator to use. And that's what I mean. For everyone responsibility to make this single market happen from their angle. You can create the best trade policy tool in the world, and you don't have the same level of trade-related infrastructure, so you will not get 100% potential of that agreement. If you create the best trade policy tool in the world, and at the same time you don't have the will of the government to remove the NTBs and to unify standards or harmonize standards or have a mutual recognition, you will not benefit from the AfCFTA. You can create all of that, and now you still have businesses maybe that prefer to go somewhere else to procure inputs, or to if you have a product that is already available in Africa, and you know it is already available in Africa, and you still take the decision to go somewhere else and procure it, you are losing your bargaining power. You are losing your bargaining power. It is your decision as a private sector or as an economic operator to take a business decision. But at the same time, at least be aware about what is the opportunities that is next to you, being offered to you. Okay, so again, it is a collective responsibility. What needs to be done, that we need to continue do other activities once we have already the structure in place, and we already have the structure in place. We already have the highway built. We need to continue building in different aspects, continue engaging on the level of the private sector. We as the Secretariat, as I said, we created the Beneficiaries Africa, and the next one is coming May this year. Please, at least if you are of a private sector, make a search, Google search about the Beneficiaries Africa. What is that about? What is the opportunity that does provide? And make your own business decision. Is it useful for you to go and see what others doing and build the connection and build network? Another thing, that we created a concept under the Guided Trade Initiative. When we have done the Guided Trade Initiative, we created a concept, what we call the AfCFTA trading companies.
Yeah.
That is very confusing for so many, but in a simple terms is if you are a economic operator or someone that export and import in Africa, have experience in exporting and importing to African countries, you can go to your Ministry of Trade or your government and you want to, and you can say, I want to be recognized as one of the AfCFTA trading companies.
I see.
What that would mean for you, you will be part of a network that we created as AfCFTA to create a network of African companies that can speak to each other and to have what we call the bargaining power. I can import that particular product from you, and also I have this product in my market to export.
And anybody can just go to their ministry in the various countries and just say, I want to be an AfCFTA trading company. Anybody, I mean, any business.
Any business can
Do they
do
require
it,
any
but
certification or something?
No, there is no certification. There is recognition by the AfCFTA Secretariat, but again, it is up to the government. You have to be registered. You have to have experience in exporting and importing, because you will be the face that represent your country.
Yeah.
So if you are a trading company from Ghana, you will be the face that representing Ghana in this form. And there is some countries that have more than 9 companies that has been reported to us. The idea is, if you're part of this network, you will have a partner in Ghana, for example, and another partner in Egypt. So you will have, let's say, eye on the Egyptian market, what the Egyptian market needs currently, and what the Egyptian market has that can offer. And the other way around, for a trading company that is operating from Egypt, because they have partners that they regularly engage under the network umbrella. In Ghana, they will be able to know what the Ghanaian market need, what the Ghanaian market require in terms of opportunities. So that together with, if you don't want to be certified as an AfCFTA trading company, that's fine. At least participate in the Biashara Africa activities, or
other events,
participate in any trade fairs or trade network. And once that is done and we start to build maybe the momentum, you will start to see a significant number in terms of, or a significant jump in the intra-Africa trade. Because again, there is another aspect that I want to end up with about this question. It is not about the absolute number. It is not about the absolute number. You can have 40% intra-Africa trade or 30% intra-Africa trade, but you are not trading in a value-added product, which means you didn't create job opportunities.
There should be a value addition to the raw materials on the continent.
You can have 30% or 40% intra-Africa trade, and you are trading products that is being maybe just trade forwarded. Okay, or product that came from Asia just to be wrapped and be traded to another country. So it is important to make sure that yes, the intra-Africa trade level is a very significant goal that or indicator, but the end goal is economic prosperity. The end goal is how many jobs that you have created.
Very good. Very good.
So we should keep that in mind. Because again, the next step that we are working on does not stop at the level of market access. Tackle the value chain development and the private sector engagement and areas around digital trade and digital market, trading service. So many areas that need to be untangled for us to realize the full potential of the single market.
Good. Can we say that there's a certain level of cost reduction? Because that's been the concern of businesses, that in the past, maybe prior to the AfCFTA, that it's expensive doing business in Africa, taking products across one country to the other in Africa. Is there a certain cost reduction element that we can say that per AfCFTA, doing business on the continent reduces? And you rightly did charge businesses of the continent that please take advantage of the trading goods and look at all the opportunities that AfCFTA has created, including the Biashara Africa and all of that, and begin to trade. But can you tell them a certain level of cost element that they stand to benefit when they trade under AfCFTA?
Well, the direct answer for the question, it is yes, cost reduction, but it will not be the complete picture.
Okay.
And I will try to explain in a very short example. If you are sending products, usually from country A to country B with $100 value of that product,
Yes,
usually, or the current or the applicable tariff duties, maybe let's say under the MFN or under the WTO, you can assume that the average is 30%. Let's assume it is 30%. So every time you export a product with $100, you pay $30 in terms of tariff.
yes,
From between two African countries.
yes.
So what the AfCFTA have done now, they said you can export this product and you can pay zero duty.
Okay.
Or actually we said we are going to reduce gradually, so we reach this 0%, by the way, by in many cases by 2030.
Okay.
This is another aspect that everyone that is critique about the AfCFTA or critique about trade agreement forget or doesn't understand, that the full potential is going to be realized also
In some
gradually.
years, yes. It doesn't happen at once.
Yes.
It reduces per some rates of percentages.
Well, the thing is, if you as a countries, or if we as a country came together and say tomorrow we are removing everything, there will be a disruption, and all the businesses or all the economic operators that operate in strong economies, they will negatively impact.
Yeah.
No, they will negatively impact the smaller economies. So that's
Okay.
why we agreed on a gradual reduction. But
Okay.
that is a side story. So to answer your question, the business, once they implement the AfCFTA, now they can enjoy 80% or 60%, at least 60% reduced tariff duties that they supposed to pay. Okay, so there is tariff reduction. However, the complete picture say it is not only about duties.
Yeah.
It is still expensive to send a container from African country to another. There is no enough transport.
Yes.
The roads
are not in good shape.
Checking points, how many checking points? There is no maybe maritime routes.
Yeah.
And for that, you will realize the issue is much bigger.
Yeah. Than just the tariff, knocking off the tariffs.
However, again, he said it is important for us to take one step as long as we're moving forward in all directions. So it is the same example where you need to pay the $30 in terms of tariffs, plus you will pay the 1,200 whatever for per container for you to transport between two countries. Okay, so it is better for you to trade under the AfCFTA and enjoy the tariff reduction, while in the same time, the creation of this single market will create demand for transport services.
Okay.
So the most famous dialogue that usually we have with the trade forwarders and those who are working on transport, they would say, I want to see trade volume.
Yeah.
For me to invest more in having
infrastructure or something.
Maritime route, or create a maritime route.
The subsea infrastructure.
Yes. No, even the number of vessels. Currently I'm operating with 2 vessels between on the West Coast. If you want me to maybe deploy 2 more or 4 more,
the trade volumes.
I need to see a trade volume, because trade volume for me is a demand on my service, which allow me to plan and justify my investment. If you go to traders, will tell you, you want me to trade with other African country, but there is no transport
connection.
So it is all of the time. It is the chicken or the egg. You solve the trade problem first, or you solve the trade-related infrastructure problem first. And for me, again, the philosophy is we have no other way than keep trying.
Yeah.
So we create the trade framework that
increases the volume,
increase the demand, increase the volume of trade, which is maybe those who are working on transport and infrastructure see as a demand for them, so they can plan ahead and they increase. And once they increase, the trade volume will increase even further, and you start to see the cycle moving. Okay. Obviously, this is not only our responsibility, or it is the responsibility of maybe trade policy tool like the AfCFTA. Yeah. There is other players in Africa like AFDB, like Afri-Exim Bank, like the trade forwarders themselves, the private sector. Everyone need to maybe work together to make this happen step by step, like you said.
A lot of the times you hear the concerns are that we don't have the logistical infrastructure on the continent. So transport connectivity on the continent is not, we don't have proper subsea shipping infrastructure. We don't have the good road networks and all of that. And so people feel that all of these dream of connecting trade on the continent may not necessarily even materialize if you don't have, as we speak, quite a number of countries don't have a vessel that will move goods from, let's say, even Ghana to Nigeria, which are all in West Africa, and having one from Cameroon from Central Africa coming to Ghana and all of that. So that's the fear of a lot of people. But what I get from you, hearing you speak, is that you may want to tackle the volume angle first. You may choose to tackle the volume angle first, and that may attract even investment in the infrastructure.
No, it is, first of all, I don't want to do anything first and anything last. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is everyone need to do their part. From our angle, where we are seated, we are, in the first place, we are a trade policy tool. It is the African Continental Free Trade Area. It's a trade agreement. We need to get our part right and continue engaging with other stakeholders and other players
to also do their part,
to give them our vision on how things can be moved. And since we are playing, maybe we can see the things maybe from helicopter point of view a little bit. We can have a different kind of conversation with them. So I'm not saying we will do the trade volume first, and they should wait until they see us maybe a satisfying level of trade volume for them to start act, because we will never reach that. It is connected chain. So we will do our part. And to be fair also, many of them, they are very keen on making different on the ground. They can do within the limitation, of course, what they can to solve these issues. Because again, some of these issues, I want to say, I don't want to waste my energy or time to think whether or not it is by design, it has been imposed on us. I understand that. My rule is not to spend my time think about this.
The problem,
My role is to spend most of the time to see what needs to be done. Okay, we have a problem in the trade-related infrastructure.
But
what we can do? This is my question.
That's a good.
I don't spend 90% of my time try to understand why this problem is there.
We come by the problem.
It is there.
Yeah.
My time, and they think every one time should be what can be done.
Great. Do you know if there are certain specific industries or sectors that stand to benefit a lot in terms of moving goods when it comes to the AfCFTA?
Agro-processing, to begin with, is one of the most sectors that have benefited from the AfCFTA as expected.
I see.
Agriculture and agro-processing sector. In the maybe manufacturing sector, what we can see is being dominated by the big firms that, again, I want to say, they haven't wasted time. They started immediately once they see that the framework is up and running. They started their maybe lines of trade has been up and running from day one. They didn't wait. They didn't maybe waste any time. And I'm sure I can't mention specific names, but I've seen big companies taking advantage from the AfCFTA, which is a good thing. They're taking advantage, which means they are following the rules of origin, which mean African value added has been achieved, which for me I have no problem with. So it is agriculture. I've seen a great potential in pharmaceutical. We're currently working on the issues around standards, which is holding a little bit pharmaceutical sector. On not trading in goods related as well, we have seen the sector for transport as well. Seen a significant benefit that is happening in that sector and a lot of interest.
Good.
And you can see this interest, especially when His Excellency go outside Africa and start to see businesses from maybe, or start to get communication from other players in the international arena, and they can see their interest in doing business in those sectors. So I would say, if I will select a sector, it is the agro-processing sector and agriculture sector, followed by the pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
There is an expectation that two other sectors will play a significant role. We just concluded the rules of origin negotiation in those sectors, which is the one being automotive.
Okay.
And the second one being textile. Automotive is a very capital intensive sector. It will attract a lot of investment. Textile being a very labor intensive sector, it will also have a very positive impact in the labor force and job creation. So hopefully those sectors we can see in the near future them joining agriculture and agro-processing sector.
And are you able to, again, pinpoint some clear challenges, and especially, as you hinted on a few earlier, clear challenges that have impeded the trading of goods under the AfCFTA so far? And for you, as a trade policy practitioner, what lessons have those challenges taught you in forging ahead?
Yeah, even during the negotiation and every time you start to speak about intra-Africa trade, it is the same problems that were there before the AfCFTA, and while the AfCFTA is being implemented, it's still around. It's still around. The weak trade-related infrastructure, the difficulty to access to finance, the lack of information about opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe the overlapping memberships.
Okay.
That thing has been with the AfCFTA in place now. That effect has been softened a little bit. Still, there is still overlapping memberships of the countries in different trade arrangements. But now, since we have the AfCFTA, everyone can trade under one regime.
Not to distract your thoughts on that, Director, you take us back on that. So when you talk about overlapping membership, you're talking about maybe a member country belonging to the AfCFTA, and also having a different regime or trade agreement with another country or something like that? Is that what you mean? Let's say AGOA, for instance, and then the person, the party state is also AfCFTA party state, or maybe may have another agreement with a European.
All of about everything that you have mentioned, especially even on the African level, you can find two countries belong to two or three different trade regimes, and sometime maybe the economic operator doesn't know if I'm trading from Ghana to, let's say, for Nigeria, should I use
the ECOWAS trade
the
liberalization scheme, or I have to use
when I'm with
AfCFTA?
the AfCFTA. In some cases, I don't want to mention specific countries, but in some cases, a country belongs to three different regimes.
I see.
But again, that is the least of our problems, because all it takes is a conversation with the secretariat of that regime, or a conversation with the government, and you can maybe forum shop, or you can select the trade regime that you want to implement. The challenge of that would be maybe on the level of customs, where there might be no clarity about which regime that should be applied, but I think that is in our hand, it is solved. But the key issues that I mentioned about the lack of finance, the lack of information, and that weak trade infrastructure, these are the problems of the intra-African trade in general, whether you are trading under the AfCFTA or you are trading under any regime.
So much have come from your table, and so much has been done already. But what, as we look into the next immediate future, what changes do you think we will begin to see, or the continent will begin to see, that indeed will signal to businesses and economic operators of the continent of Africa that, yes, trading goods is happening on the continent?
We created a trade agreement. Okay, a single market for Africa. It is for the first time Africa as a continent start maybe to trade among each other as a unit. I think the most significant improvement that we can do in the future as a trade policy, from trade policy point of view, and I'm sorry I'm keep bringing you to
and
the
that's
trade
important,
policy thing, because
that's the space you operate.
My space. The most important thing for us is to start to speak as a unit with third parties, with other parties. That will be the most significant step. When it comes to upgrade for the AfCFTA, because now we are dealing with each other. We are maybe controlling the trade among each other, but we need to speak as one voice from trade point of view. That is very, very important. You need to have a unified external policy, because if you don't do that, then again, the benefits of the AfCFTA will be very, very minimal. I can give you an example. You can create a continental value chain in automotive. Okay. And you attract investment, you open market access for the car that is manufactured in South Africa to be sold in Ghana, to be sold in Egypt, or the other way around, or whatever. But if you don't have unified external trade policy, and many countries allow, maybe for example, the second-hand vehicles to be imported, to continue to be imported in the market, that means if I'm a consumer and I can get a second-hand car that is imported from somewhere else, that has been produced 2 years ago, 3 years ago, why I need to go and buy a new car that is coming maybe from another African country, which means it will take from the market share that the African products can produce. And you can apply the same case for the second-hand used clothes, which is by itself is another topic that is under the AfCFTA is prohibited. But on a national level, some countries allow for that. So at some point of time, we need to have a unified trade policy. A unified trade policy as well will mean that you will have more serious trade partners and trade and development partners. Because now, instead of, and I don't want to make any example with any country, but instead of just selecting country by country and treating them by market actor or treating them by maybe different treatment, you are speaking with 1.6 billion market.
Yeah.
You are speaking with 3.6 or 3.7 trillion market.
$1 trillion.
You are not speaking only with this country of 10 million person, or you are not speaking with this country that has a GDP of 2 billion or 3 billion. Okay. Usually I'm managing the trading goods and competition. And usually when I make a reference for example, about our phones, the iPhone. You may recall that before iPhone 16, if I remember correctly, the charging maybe socket for the iPhone was lighting socket that was only available for iPhone, while every other phone was using Type-C. Because the European Union is a significant market in terms of size and in terms of volume for Apple. And they have a unified body like the European Competition Commission. They forced a big giant like Apple to change their behavior in favor of the consumer. And now all the phones have Type-C.
I see.
Which is in your favor as a consumer. This is just one example of how unified external trade policy can do for you. So the next upgrade that I want to see is that unified external trade policy. The next upgrade that I want to see as well, once you have this unified policy, you can, I will not say force, but strongly encourage investment in the trade-related infrastructure and economic-related infrastructure, and you can create a continental value chain. Continental value chain is a very, very interesting concept. You are not expected as a country to produce everything. You need to find your comparative advantage, and for other products or other maybe manufacturing process, you can be part of continental value chain. For example, for the vehicles, you don't need to build everything from 0 to 100 in any country. You can be part of the value chain and be specialized in one thing, and we're already seeing that model happening, working in Germany, even in South Korea, even Japan. They no longer produce everything in the car. They can't. Or actually they can, but they are not doing it. Because it is not
economically viable to do that. Erita, you're from Egypt. You're an Egyptian. Have you worked in the trade space in Egypt?
Yes.
Okay. So
I was in the Ministry of Trade, focusing also on trade policy, and it was the trade negotiator, the chief trade negotiator for Egypt for the AfCFTA. Was also interested in managing the trade relation also with COMESA countries. I've spent a significant amount of my professional life worrying about trade policy in Africa.
I like the way you put it, worrying about. Let's stay in Egypt and use Egypt as example. You go back and you see economic operators in Egypt and the volume of work you are doing for the continent under AfCFTA. Does it worry you that economic operators haven't started utilizing some of the things you have worked so tirelessly to put together with your team at the Secretariat, led by the Secretary General?
For me, as I said, I'm convinced that it is not about it. The AfCFTA is a journey. It is one-time event.
It's not an event. Yes.
So we will do our part. It will take time, and when the businesses see the potential of the agreement, that is risk versus reward for them is more rewarding, they will take advantage of the AfCFTA. for me, I'm optimistic. But what to come, the real challenge will be the availability of resources to achieve what we can do or what we hope to do as a continent, the availability of resources to solve all the infrastructure problems, the availability of resources of making the continental value chains happen. Another challenge that I'm seeing as well, or we need to keep a close eye on also the overlapping memberships.
Yeah.
Continue to see maybe the impact of the overlapping membership, and I think at some point in time in the future, we and the regional economic communities like ECOWAS and COMESA and SADC and all the RICS, we need to come together and to see what is the best way of harmonizing our trade regimes and simplifying things for our economic operators.
If there's been a business or economic operator out there who's been quite skeptical about this whole vision, this whole dream to create a single market, what would you say to this person?
What I can say is just the AfCFTA is not just a hope or dream. It is up there.
Yeah.
You can go to your government to ask for maybe proof record of number of certificates of origin that has been issued, trade that has been done. But
that shows that others are enjoying the agreement.
Again, we are saying up till June, or only in 6 months in 2024, there was 5,800 shipments. Okay. And we'll continue issue the number. We have a challenge in capturing the real life data.
Yeah.
This is one of the challenges that we have. And again, it is linked to resources availability and the readiness of the different countries, because some countries, they are able to give you the information in 2 or 3 days, and other countries, they would require some technical involvement. But again, back to your question, what I can say is the AfCFTA is working, moving forward.
Good.
It is a progress.
Yeah.
And everyone, including those who don't believe, are part of this process. And hopefully will join us soon.
Yeah. And as we ending, I took critical notice of the background as you gave, having worked in the ministries to be specific, Ministry of Trade in Egypt, and now you're living in Ghana. Now, you're living in Ghana because you and your team are building this economic integration for the continent. But you've come from a country that is rich in soccer. Very rich in soccer. As a matter of fact, anytime Ghana is playing Egypt, a lot of people just give up and say, no, it looks like we lose this. And you're living in another country that's so enthused about soccer as well. Do you enjoy soccer? Do you play?
I used to.
Okay.
For both. I used to watch soccer, and I used to play.
Really? You used to play?
Yes.
I see.
And it is not soccer, it is football.
Okay. It's football.
Yeah, I used to play and I used to watch. But recently I
don't have the time.
No, it is not about the time. It's just changed my hobbies. Like
okay,
the overall for me, some football fans will not like that, but for me, I got to realize that if I every day spend 90 minutes on watching just 22 millionaire running after football is not the best use of my time. But I understand it is a beautiful sport,
game, yeah,
football game,
yeah.
And yes, when they know Ghana as well, I think the only country that had beat us by 6 now was Ghana. So Ghana is a significant
competitor.
Yes.
And so if you don't do soccer, if you don't do much sports these days, what else do you do to relax?
I enjoy following the
tech industry.
The tech industry and the development. I'm fascinated by the AI development, which is again another aspect that I encourage everyone to invest their time and minds in.
Yeah.
The future definitely is for the AI.
Mm.
And for those who embrace AI and be open to receive information, because the base of how things being developed around AI is significant. It's too fast. You can't afford as a person to just wait and see every 3 years or every 5 years. Like, for example, when the internet started. Unfortunately, I don't have time to play sport in general. But hopefully, by your help, we can have we can establish a committee or activity in the secretariat for a football team.
For
of the
football team,
secretariat.
it wouldn't be a bad idea. And you will join.
I will join. Yes, I will join.
Good. And taste of food and taste of culture, and like we talked about from the beginning, your taste for kaftan. As you move around the continent and you engage the continent a lot, I see you almost in every country connecting and putting things in place on behalf of the continent. The taste, how do you see taste? You move from Egypt and the taste of food in Egypt, the taste of food in Ghana, taste of garments and textiles and dressing and all of that. How do all of that come together for you? What does it also teach you as a man shaping the movement of goods on the continent? With your team, of course.
Yeah, I think for the food, I got to learn about the everlasting fight in West Africa about who has the best jollof rice in that region. And me myself, I enjoy jollof rice a lot.
I see. Yeah, okay.
The pepper soup as well.
The pepper soup, good.
I'm enjoying that. But
it's not too spicy for you. Yeah.
I'm usually not spicy person, but for this one I can make exception. I think it is also amazing for us to have staff and colleagues from everywhere, from North Africa, from South Africa, from Central Africa, from East Africa, everywhere. And we got to realize and experience this journey or experience, or have this experience together.
Yeah.
Here in Ghana, here in that region, West African region, and get to learn about the culture and get to learn about the rich community that you guys enjoy here, the democracy, all the things that we are enjoying here. It is significant experience. It's a very good experience for us to be part of. And I think everyone is adding to each other. Again, this is another beauty of the AfCFTA, building that community, that secretariat by ourselves, learning by doing by ourselves. You don't move in the secretariat and find external partners, experts / mentors that is telling you what to do. All Africans here, even when we are working with external partner, make sure that the representative of those partners are from Africa. So it is something. I think it is something that we really enjoy.
Director, we wish you well. For us, it's our prayer that you get the strength, the insight, the knowledge, and everything to continue to do what you have already begun for the continent. And we are also happy to learn from Director that indeed already, if you thought this was just a vision or a dream that we are yet to see, already this is happening. Over 5,000, and he mentioned, just to be specific, Director, said 5,000 and what?
800.
5,800 certificates of origin have already been issued to economic operators who are doing business across the continent. And if nothing excites you, this definitely should begin to make you sit upright and know that the continent is moving. If you were in doubt ever, the continent is moving, having heard from Director in charge of trading goods of the AfCFTA Secretariat. And you've got no choice but to also tag along and let it happen together. Those who also think that we don't have the infrastructure, so when does it happen? Please, he has just shown you that something ought to be done. And the mobilization of the volumes of trade on the continent already, together with his team and the leadership at the Secretariat, they are making it happen. We thank you for always watching. We want you to share this with your parties across the continent and globally. Let them listen to what's been done, what has already been done, and what's going on across the continent of Africa. Like it if you have comments for Director Mohamed, like you have already been doing. We've seen quite a number of your comments. All the responses are coming to you shortly. You'll be reading the responses that the Secretariat has for you. If you have some for Director Mohamed, we are happy to take them. We'll get responses from his office and then definitely make them available to you so that you can trade on the continent of Africa. And that's our dream. That's our vision. Thank you, Director. We wish you well. And your team, we pray for you. Congratulations again, sir.
Thank you.